even though episode 7 is still a mystery to us, even more than the previous episodes were, because we officially entered the "you'll have to wait and see" era. There are still some interesting things Gooseworx and the voice actors shared about the upcoming episode, which makes me extremely excited. So in this video I'm going to talk about all the news we got about episode 7. And starting with probably the biggest news, during a recent live stream, Ashley, who's Zooble's voice actor, basically confirmed that we're finally going to see Ribbit as an actual character in the show.
Using knowledge I have of Ribbit that you guys don't have yet, Ribbit's smash.
And she mentioned using knowledge she has about Ribbit that we don't have yet, implying that it's going to happen and it's confirmed, which perfectly connects to Gooseworx posting that full body sketch for Ribbit as well. Something that would only make sense to have designed in the first place if Ribbit was actually going to appear in the show after all. But what's really interesting about this is that we still don't know anything concrete about Ribbit's character, except that we were finally given confirmation about their gender during a recent live stream where the voice actors played the game called Peak, and Sean, Kinger's voice actor, referred to Ribbit as him. But later on, Jax's voice actor revealed that Sean didn't call Ribbit him, but used M, short for them, instead. Which means any previous information about Ribbit's gender wasn't meant to be canon, because for some reason this detail about Ribbit was meant to be more of a secret, and honestly this makes me think that there's way more to Ribbit's character than we initially thought. And when you think about everything we know about Jax's backstory with both Kaufmo and Ribbit, there is this really disturbing possibility that's leading to the theory that maybe Ribbit wasn't actually the friend that Jax lost, but instead the person who completely destroyed him, and maybe that's the real reason why Jax is the way he is now. Now, I'm not saying I wholeheartedly believe this theory, because again, it kinda shifts the focus from Jax and his actions, and tries to blame others for his actions, but I don't know. Trauma works in interesting ways, and it's a very complex thing, so who knows? Maybe there is something about this theory after all. And the thing is, when Jax described people who are about to abstract, he says that right before Kaufmo and Ribbit abstracted, they became really insufferable to be around, and while most people interpreted this as just them being depressed or losing their minds, what if there is more to it than that? Because if this theory has any truth to it, then maybe Jax is actually describing what it was like to be around someone who was becoming increasingly controlling or manipulative as their mental state deteriorated. And that could explain why he's so convinced now that getting close to people is dangerous, because he's experienced firsthand what happens when relationships become toxic. However, we also need to talk about the more technical stuff, because there is also the production side of episode 7 to consider, because even though Gooseworx said that Glitch would be focusing entirely on the amazing digital circus to avoid delays, we just recently found out that Knights of Guinevere's pilot is coming out on September 19th, which actually left many fans confused about what we should expect for episode 7's release schedule, since some people were worried that this new show would push back episode 7 while Glitch focuses on promoting their other project. But here's where things get interesting, because we were told that 2D and 3D are two different teams at Glitch, referring to how this new show is being made in a completely different format to Digital Circus in the first place. And apparently now we have at least 3 groups working at Glitch, one working on the amazing Digital Circus, one working on the Gaslight District, and one working on the Knights of Guinevere, which means that the production process for every show at the company is going to be run a whole lot smoother and more efficiently. And honestly, this works out better for episode 7's timeline, because we know that episode 7 was also animated along with episodes 5 and 6, which means that they should be at the very end of the production process. And especially now that the team knows what they are doing and Glitch's full focus is on this show, it seems like episode 7 should be coming out even faster than the 2-month wait we had for episode 6, which means we're probably looking at a late September or early October release. But honestly, the production timeline is just the beginning, because what we're learning about the actual content of episode 7 is absolutely wild, and I'm not even sure fans are ready for what Gooseworx has planned, because during multiple recent live streams, both Gooseworx and Michael Kovach have been dropping some really serious warnings about episode 7, and they're not being subtle about it. And during Jobby's stream, who voices the disappearing guy, Gooseworx talked about how episode 7 had a really rough time in pre-production, with multiple rewrites happening, because they needed to make sure they got it exactly right, because apparently if they messed this up, it would have been really bad.
There were like so many rewrites, because it's like, we have to get this to work, otherwise it will be like the worst thing ever.
But even with all that extra work, she mentioned that it's still gonna upset certain types of fans, and the way she said it made it sound like she's not worried about accidentally making people mad, but more like she knows this episode is gonna hit some fans in a way they're not expecting, and she's prepared for that reaction. But then Michael Kovach, who voices Jax, has been even more direct about this, because he's literally warned fans that episode 7 will probably tear the fanbase apart, since some people will love the new direction while others will feel completely betrayed, and he specifically mentioned that he told a friend about what happens in episode 7, and the reaction was literally,
I mentioned it to a friend and they were like, dude, that's ass, I hate it. And I'm like, dude, we're on two separate like viewpoints on this. I think it's awesome.
But based on what they are describing, this whole thing probably goes beyond just one character's actions, since Michael specifically said it's about the direction of the whole show, and that some people will feel betrayed by the way it goes, which suggests we're talking about a fundamental shift in what fans expect from the amazing digital circus. And when you connect this to everything we know about the upcoming Ribbit appearance and Jax's character development, it becomes pretty clear that episode 7 is probably going to be the episode where we finally see the absolute worst side of Jax. But there's also the fact that episode 7 was originally supposed to be combined with episode 8 as one massive episode, but Gooseworx had to split it into 2 parts because of how long it was getting. And honestly, this just makes me think that there's probably way too much stuff happening in these episodes, like maybe we're getting multiple big reveals or major character moments all packed together, and Gooseworx realized that trying to fit all of that into one episode would make everything feel rushed and overwhelming, so she decided to give each plot point the proper time it needs. And maybe that's because episode 7 is going to be the episode where we finally learn the truth about what happened between Jax and Ribbit through some kind of flashback episode, which has already been heavily teased for one of the future episodes of the show, except it's maybe not going to be the tragic loss of a friend that everyone's been assuming, but something way more complicated and morally ambiguous that requires 2 full episodes to properly explore, especially since we know that Jax mentioned both Kaufmo and Ribbit became insufferable right before they abstracted. But honestly, this could be exactly why fans are going to get so mad, because if episode 7 really is a flashback episode, then people aren't going to see what they wanted from the current timeline. Instead, we'll be learning about the character's past and seeing what they were actually like before everything went wrong, and maybe that's gonna completely destroy people's perception of whoever this character used to be, because what if the flashback reveals that someone we thought was innocent or sympathetic was actually way more toxic than we realized? But the really terrifying part of this theory is that maybe the reason episode 7 had to be split is because whatever happened between Jax and Ribbit is about to be revealed in a way that's going to completely destroy any remaining sympathy people have for Jax. Because if episode 7 is designed to make fans angry and feel betrayed, then it's probably going to involve Jax doing something that proves all his warnings about himself were true. And maybe that's why both Gooseworx and Michael Kovach are essentially issuing content warnings for their own show. And honestly, at this point, I'm starting to think that maybe all these warnings aren't just about individual character moments, but about the show itself changing in a way some fans aren't going to be able to handle. Because if episode 7 really does reveal something major about Jax's past or about the nature of the circus itself, then we might be looking at a situation where the whole tone of the show shifts permanently. And maybe that's what's going to divide people, not necessarily whether Jax gets redeemed or not, but whether fans can accept that this story was always darker than it appeared on the surface. Let me know what you think about all these updates and theories down in the comments. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.